welcome back, everybody, to the Austin Crime Report, brought to you here by your folks over at the Austin Police Association. I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry. I really wanted to do the dramatic intro, and we're just going to keep rolling with it. So I'm Michael Bullock, president for the Austin Police Association, and you have got in here with me Tyler Latham, who is the vice president for the APA, and then the white wizard hiding behind the curtain of computers, one Christopher Irwin.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah. So again, this is going to be a short video, just running down a whole bunch of different stuff going on around the city. We're going to bounce around from a variety of different topics, but hopefully getting you some information that's helpful and kind of some up-to-date information. Just as a quick reminder, all three of us are officers with the department. So just keep that in mind when you're getting all this information, because we are very plugged into the department. We work, I work patrol on a regular basis. Tyler and Christopher both also work various areas all around the city. We help out. So we're out there, and a lot of things we're talking about are from either firsthand experience. They may be calls that we've been on. They may be, areas that we're all familiar with. So it really is just a kind of an inside look at what goes on in the department, as well as a variety of other information that hopefully you find useful. So first things, it's always a big topic, especially lately, is staffing. So currently, we have around 1,450 officers. I say around because it could fluctuate based on day and how quickly sheets get updated and all that other kind of stuff. So that number may flux just a little bit. But right now, we have roughly 1,450, 1,470-ish, somewhere in there, officers with the department. And we are authorized to have, per city council authorizes our positions. We have 1,816, I believe, because it just got increased a little bit. So it's 1,816 authorized positions. So we're still roughly 350 officers short of what is currently authorized. That, again, we keep track of this, but that does not incorporate the 150 positions that were cut back in 2020 by previous council. And so that puts us at roughly 500 vacancies. And if you take into account, back in 2019, they released the Matrix Report, is what it was called, and it was a city commission study. But the Matrix Report then, when we had roughly 1,850 officers, that one said we needed 200 to 300 officers more back then, which would have put us at 2,200 to 2,300 officers. So realistically, the number that we go off of is 2,200 to 2,300 officers is where we really should be for a city our size. Fort Worth is just a little bit bigger than us, just barely below.
They just passed us.
Yeah, an apartment complex bigger, and they have 2,000 officers. I was talking with someone over at their agency not that long ago, and they have 2,000 officers, and they're authorized, I believe, 2,200 is what they said. So for a city our size, we should be at 2,200, but realistically, we're just shy of 1,500. So we're roughly 700 short of where we should be. So we are definitely still in a staffing crisis, but some of the trends are positive. So in 2023, we had 161 people leave the department. The majority of those, 105 of them, were retirements, and then about 50 of them, a little over 50, were people who resigned. So that's people who resigned before they were eligible to retire. So 161 is about the highest we've ever seen, if not one of the highest. And then in 2024, we had 95 separations. Of those, it was split almost evenly between retirements and resignations. But what's important to note on that one is in September is when we saw a steep drop-off. So as we got later in the year, we saw a steep drop-off of the number of people who left per month. And for anyone who doesn't recall, that is when we were under contract negotiations. So it was a pretty clear link that working towards a contract and then getting back under a contract had a very definitive impact on how many people left the department. So, so 161 people left in 23, 95 left, separated from the department in 2024. And then this year, so far, and we're only in February, but we have had 8 people that are either scheduled or already have left. So retirements are kind of scheduled out a little bit in the future. So that's why we say they may still be here, but they're kind of on paper as they're going to be leaving. So so we're doing pretty good. We're doing a lot better. That's a much better pace than we were this time last year and really this time in 2023. So that's an encouraging sign. So very glad to see that our staffing is moving in the right direction. We had a net gain of 3 people this last year.
Hooray.
Yeah. And hopefully this year we're going to have a lot more. So there are currently 2 cadet classes going on. One is the 153rd class, and they are set to graduate here next month, the first part of next month, here in just a few weeks, less than a month, they are graduating. They started with 61, and I believe they're currently right at around 30 is how many is where they're at. So they've lost roughly half, which, you know, is not great. That's not quite what we want to see. There's a whole lot of factors that can go into that one, though. And you know, a lot of people leave for personal reasons, but there could be a whole bunch of other things that go in there. We have, you know, education, we have testing standards for both the academic aspect and then also physical aspect. You need officers to be in shape, to be healthy, to be able to run after people when necessary, to be able to run up to critical scenes. Like there's a variety of different reasons why fitness is very important here. So it's an important standard to have. And then the other class, the other one just started. And do you recall how many people are actually in that? I want to say they started at around 70.
Yes.
I think that's where they started at, and they just started.
Yeah, they just started.
Yeah, they just started. So that one doesn't graduate until later this year, but we're about to have another class come out, which is great. That'll help, and they'll be joining the ranks soon. They'll have, once they graduate, they have a 3-month field training period typically, where they have to go and they ride with a field training officer, and that officer is usually a senior officer who is responsible for making sure that the cadet, now a probationary police officer, rookie is what we would call them, make sure that the rookie, it's a terminology everyone's familiar with.
Yes, it's their on-the-job training.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's their on-the-job training to where they, you know, you just verify that everything that they learned in the academy sticks, and they now know how to turn it into practical application, and we make sure that they are meeting the standards of the department. So, so the 153rd cadet class is about to be on their FTO period, and then, like I said, later this year we'll have another cadet class, and they're currently recruiting for another class that will be starting again this year too. So hopefully they'll have 3 classes this year that will have been in the academy at some point. Not all 3 are going to we're not going to have 3 that graduate this year, but those are goals that they're trying to work towards. So hopefully we're about to see a positive trend on the recruiting, and contract a big part of that one. So very happy to see that.
And they have a goal for the department of running 3 classes every year for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
They can have 104 cadets in each one. So that's what they're working to get to. So hey, if you know somebody that wants to be a police officer and wants to come to Austin, Austin's a great place. We're a great department. So come on down. You'll get through the recruiting process faster than any other time right now, because they're starting so many classes.
Yeah, starting a whole bunch of classes. The recruiting process is a little bit different. They're trying to streamline it. So yeah, if you know people that are interested, apdrecruiting.org is the website you can go to. You can send people to join the department. People have questions, they can reach out to the department, and we have recruiters that are happy to talk to people and answer a whole bunch. That recruiting page also has a whole bunch of information of it, including, you know, benefits, schedules, pay, you know, all this other kind of stuff that's on there, retirement. And so lots of good info on there. But please help us, help us build the department back. If you know good people, qualified people, people who may have served in the military that are back, people who may be looking to switch law enforcement agencies, people who are looking to join a major city department, if they're from Austin, you know, if they want to be here for the long term, right? Like there's lots of good reasons. We still have, don't get me wrong, our department, we still have struggles, but I still believe this is one of the best departments in the country, if not the best. And so if you know somebody that's interested in law enforcement, send them to us. We need all the help that we can get, and we want good people. So some of the other stuff that's going on around the city, we kind of have a BOLO, which is a Be on the Lookout, that was put out by some of our sex crimes detectives. They're trying to identify a suspect that was related to a call that happened earlier this month on February 8th. This took place in the 6900 block over of FM 969. So in particular, if you're living over in the 969 area, something to keep an eye out for. But all across the city, it's great. We'll include the sketch, but basically the suspect, it's a black male. It's possibly in his 20s. He's about 5'6" to 5'9" in height, approximately 200 pounds. He's got a medium to heavy build, no facial hair, but last seen wearing black sweatpants and a black sweatshirt. So if you do see him or you have information related to this incident, again, it happened back on February 8th of this year, in the 6900 block of FM 969. If you have a lead, a tip, contact our sex crimes unit, please. It's 512-974-5095. So 512-974-5095. You can also leave a tip anonymously. You can do that through austincrimestoppers.org, or you can contact them, which is 512-472-8477. I believe, I'd have to look at my phone, but I'm pretty sure that's still 512-472-TIPS, I think is the shorthand for it.
Yeah, I believe that. That's
Hopefully
right.
I didn't just misspeak, but I'm pretty sure if I remember from PIO days that is
still
correct.
the
And there is a sketch, again, that we're going to put up here. But real quick, Tyler, you were a detective, so give us just a little bit of insight here into like how much work it takes into getting to this point where you're trying to identify a suspect and actually identify a suspect. How can people potentially help with that?
Yes, so this is a computer sketch. So it's somebody that sits down with a sketch artist. They do it on the computer now for the most part, but it's somebody that a detective is going to have to determine when they've talked to the victim that they have gotten a good enough look at the person to describe them. And so then they sit down with that sketch artist and they sit down at least a few hours, and it can take multiple sessions, but they're going to sit down and they're going to go step by step over everything on the face, everything. They don't just ask for a whole picture. Then they go, okay, here's this. And how about, okay, was their face rounder, narrower? Okay, let's talk about eyebrows, eyes, nose, lips, cheeks, structure, hair, all that stuff. So they go step by step and until they get a really detailed image, and then once the victim is like, yeah, that's really close. That's what the guy looked like. That's what the female looked like. That's whoever the suspect is. That's what they look like. Then they can move with that.
Yeah, a lot of work that goes.
A lot of
into
work,
it.
and a very very trained, skilled sketch artist that goes through a lot of training to learn how to pull that information out of the victim's mind, like to get the right information.
Yeah. Oh, it's pretty impressive. It's impressive work, and even when you look at these sketches, you can see it's a lot of details. So it takes a lot of work for them to go through all of that. But in case you don't know, we also have the same group that you can leave a tip with, the Capital Area Crime Stoppers. They also put out every Wednesday their Wanted Wednesday, and so we're going to highlight that here on this show as well. And so this week, or actually, is this from this week, Christopher? It is from this week. Okay, perfect. So the one from this week is Jeremiah Isaiah Cerna, is how I think that's probably pronounced. And he's got an outstanding felony warrant for aggravated robbery. So this is there's a photo that's up here. It is a 2024 photo, but he does have an active warrant. He's 18, 5'9", about 140 pounds. So you can leave a tip. Again, it's with the Crime Stoppers. You can do so anonymously, and it is 512-472-TIPS, 512-472-8477. So if you've seen Jeremiah around, you know where he is. You can call them, leave an anonymous tip, so that way we can help, that can help us or wherever he's at, him to be taken into custody, so that way he can actually face the rest of the process to make sure that whoever was the victim of this crime does get justice. So an aggravated robbery warrant, not a minor crime, not a little one.
And if you have that information, you call Crime Stoppers, and you have information that leads to the arrest and prosecution of that person, then there are cash money rewards that you can get through that program. So
they'll pay up to $1,000 for information that leads to the arrest. So yeah, definitely something to keep in mind. Last thing that I want to do is I want to give a shout out to a couple things that have been going on here in the department. First and foremost, again, this is one that's on the department's Facebook page. If you don't follow APD on their Facebook page, you can, and encourage you to go do so. A lot of good information that gets put out there. But the employee of the week last week was Officer Kaba, who's a great dude. I've known Kaba for a while, and he was responded to a call involving someone who had unexpectedly passed and an 8-year-old child that was there. And he took an extreme amount of compassion and time to sit and be with this 8-year-old who was obviously dealing with a traumatic experience, and did everything that he could to try to comfort him, and wound up giving him his hat at the end of it, and writing a little encouraging phrase in there for him. I really went above and beyond, and I love it when I see things like this get put out, because please know, like, you see one of these, but this happens every single day.
Oh yeah.
There every single day an officer is doing just what Officer Kaba did on this one, where they are investing in people. They are taking the time. I have seen officers pay for hotel rooms for people. They have paid to get tires fixed. They've paid for hitches because someone's broke and they got stranded on the side of the roadway. They have, like, officers have dug into their pockets. They've taken of their time, and they've done everything they can to try to help people. So it is great to see these kinds of things highlighted, but please know these are not one-offs. They happen all the time. But major props and shout outs to Officer Cobb for everything they did on that one. I also want to give a shout out. Some of our lieutenants were out working patrol the other day, because they were helping so that way a patrol shift could go and get training. It's a little harder these days because of staffing numbers for people to get in a large group to get out to the academy or wherever to go do some training. So one of our commanders got a whole bunch of lieutenants together, and they went out and took the officer's place and were patrolling out there so that way they could go get some training in. So I love it when I see people in those supervisor roles go out, do work, and do all kinds of good stuff out there and take care of their people. So
Well done to all of them. Shout out
Yeah.
for doing that.
yeah, great to see it. So please know your department is out there doing everything that we can, as much as we can, on a regular basis. It is a phenomenal department. I am super proud of the men and women that we get to represent, and that serve each one of you. So we'll keep talking about all of this going forward, but until the next one, stay safe, stay aware, and stay tuned for the next one.